Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the Grade Center in Blackboard. Alright, I've logged into Blackboard and I'm inside a demo course I created for this video. I'm going to start by opening the full Grade Center. To do that, I'm going to go to my course management area. I'm going to locate where it says Grade Center and click on that to expand it. And then I'm going to click on the option for the full Grade Center. Okay, so I'm now inside the full Grade Center. You notice it's laid out similar to a spreadsheet. Well, you'll have columns across the top, which are going to be things such as the student's information like their last name and first name, their username. You'll see your total grade here, which is the total points a student has earned in the course. And then you'll also see listed here columns for assignments or tests or quizzes or discussion board posts. Basically anything that you created inside the course that you assigned a point value to will automatically have a Grade Center column created for it. So you will not have to create those. The only columns you'll need to create are columns for assignments that students completed outside of Blackboard, and I'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. On the left-hand side, you'll notice you have rows going down that are going to be all your students that are enrolled in the course. So you'll be able to see each individual student there. If you have a large class and you don't like the fact that only a handful of students are being displayed here, if you go down to this Edit Rows Displayed button, you can change the number of rows displayed. The max is 50. And you can click Go there to make that change. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to keep that change, so the next time you come into the Grade Center, you will have to change that each time. That's just a something put in place by Blackboard to make sure the page loads quickly, and there's not a way for us to change that. Alright, as you can see on my screen, you may notice some different icons or symbols inside the gradebook. For example, you'll see this little green check mark. If you don't know what a symbol means, you can hover over it and it'll tell you what it is. So for example, this is just telling me that the total is being shown to the students as their external grade. This little icon here is telling me that the assignment's been submitted and is waiting for me to grade it. If you don't know what a symbol means, you can also go down here where it's click on this icon legend, and it'll just bring up a legend of all the different icons that are used inside the Grade Center. Another useful feature is this grade information bar. Basically, that'll display some information about the selected column. So I'm just going to hover over here and go to this assignment. You'll notice that that information bar now tells me how many points the assignment was possible, how many students have submitted it, and how many attempts need grading. So it just provides me kind of a quick glimpse into what's going on in that column. Another useful tool is the filter. So if you click up here to turn on the filter, you'll see it lets me decide what view I want. So right now I'm in full Grade Center view, but I can choose to just have it show, for example, just test. So it'll filter everything only to items that are labeled test. I can have it go by a specific category. So if I have a certain category, for example, maybe I only want discussions, it'll filter it to discussions. Or I can do all statuses, or I can change to a different status. So for example, if I only want to see things that need grading, I can switch to just needs grading. Another nice feature of the Grade Center is this sort columns by option. So this lets you change how the columns are displayed in the Grade Center. So right now I've got it set to layout position. I'll show you guys later on in this video how you can change the layout position, but by default everything that you create in the Grade Center just gets added to the end. But I can also choose to sort this by either any of these options here like categories or display name, and you can choose either to order that ascending or descending. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can create your own columns in the gradebook. So I'm going to click Create Column here. So this would be for something the students didn't do inside Blackboard. So for example, I'm just going to call this Lab Exercise number 1. as the column name. Now you notice it gives me an option for a grade center name as well. The reason it has that is the columns inside the grade center are fixed width, so they will not expand with the name of your column. So if you name your column too large, it will get cut off. So for my grade center name, I'm just going to change this to lab number 1. You can provide a description. So if you want to enter a description about what this assignment was, you can type in a description there. You can then decide on what the primary display should be. So this is how it's going to show up both in the grade center and in the student's My Grades section. So you can choose either score, a letter grade, a text box that you can just type in whatever you'd like, the percentage, or complete or incomplete. I'm just going to leave it as score. You can set a secondary display. So for example, I could have this also give me the letter grade. But you will be the only one that can see that. It only is visible in the grade center. That does not show up for the students in My Grades. You can assign a category to this. So if I want to assign this a category, for example, I could assign this the assignment category. We'll talk a little bit more later about categories. You are required to put a points possible for any assignment or any grade center column you create. If you want an extra credit column, you can use a point possible of 0. I'm going to make this one worth 10 points. If you grade with rubrics, you can add a rubric that was created in Blackboard to use for grading this assignment, even though it wasn't completed in Blackboard. You can put a due date with this if you like. That will create a due date on the course calendar and a notification for students when that due date starts showing up. And then you have some options down here. Include this column in the grade center calculations. So that defaults to yes, which means this is being calculated as part of the student's grade. Show this column to students. That defaults to yes, which means they're able to see their grade in the My Grades section. And then you can show statistics, the average or median for this column to students in My Grades. That's defaulted to no. If you want to turn that on, that'll give students kind of an idea what the average score was on the assignment. All right. Once you have all that set the way you want it set up, you're just going to click Submit. And you'll see that that's been added to the end of my list of Grade Center columns. And you'll notice it's been using the Grade Center column of lab number 1 because the lab exercises number 1 would have been too long. In addition to the regular Grade Center columns you can also create calculated columns. There are 4 different calculated columns available in Blackboard. An average column, which is going to tell you the average score a student got on a number of assignments. A minimum maximum column, which will tell you the minimum or maximum score a student got on a set of assignments. The total column, which is going to take the total points the student earned and divide them by the points possible. And a weighted column, which allows you to use a weighted grade system. I'm actually going to make a separate video that covers how to create the weighted column, but I did want to make sure you guys were aware of those options. One other thing to keep in mind is you don't want to confuse the average column with the total column. Typically, when we are talking about a student's grade in the class, we're talking about a calculation like a total column, where it's the total points the student earned divided by the points possible. All right, the next thing I'd like to show you is how you can create your own categories. So I'm going to go up here and click on Manage and choose Categories. You'll see Blackboard has 7 default categories that you can use in Blackboard. For example, anytime you create an assignment, it's automatically assigned the category of assignment. Anytime you create a test, it's automatically assigned the category of test. But you may have some other assignments that you'd like to have categories for. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to create a category up here. And for example, if I want a category for quiz, I can type in quiz and create a new category. If I want a category for labs, I can click here, type in lab. and then click Submit. And that gives me 2 new categories that I can assign to Grade Center columns. So I'm just going to click OK to exit out of this. If I want to use those categories, basically I just have to edit the column information for the Grade Center column to make that change. So I'm going to go up to here to my quiz number 1. I'm going to click on the drop down next to it. I'm going to click Edit Column Information. And then I'm going to find this section in here that says Category. You'll notice it was set up to be a test. I'd like it to be a quiz, so I'm just going to click on that drop down and choose Quiz. And then click Submit. I can do the same thing for the lab that I created earlier. So if I click on the drop down for this lab and hit and select Edit Column Information and go down to the category option, I can switch this to Lab and click Submit. Now if you're just grading with total points, the categories may not make a whole lot of difference to you, but if you are going to be planning on using a weighted grading total, the categories are going to be really important. You can also use those categories to filter. So if I want to filter just by quiz now, I can filter by quiz. I can sort by those. If I want to sort by the categories, I can sort by the categories. So there are some uses for them, even if you're not going to be grading with a weighted column. Another useful tool you can find under Manage is Column Organization. This allows you to rearrange the layout position of the Grade Center. So for example, if you want to rearrange the order of your assignments, you can rearrange them and drag them into whatever order you like. There's also a little gray bar here that sets which columns are frozen on the screen. The columns that are frozen on the screen will stay on the screen as you scroll through the Grade Center. So for example, right now the last name and first name are frozen. If I wanted to, I could drag up, let's say, my total external grade. I could drag that up there, so that would be frozen as well. If I don't want their first name there, I could drag that down. So right now it'll only show their last name and total as I move through the Grade Center. Any changes you make in here will not take effect until you click the Submit button. So always remember to click Submit before you leave. And now you notice that my Grade Center has been moved around a little bit. My last name's there, my total's there, first name's there. If you have some columns in the grade book that you don't want to see, you can hide those. Now it's actually a 2-step process. So make sure you do it this way. So if I go, for example, we don't use student ID, I can click here for more options, and then I can say hide from instructor view, and that'll hide it from me. For columns that appear both to the student and to myself, you'll need to hide it from the student first. So for example, weighted total, let's say I'm not going to use a weighted total in my class, I can click here, and I can first hide from students on/off, so that'll hide it from students. You'll see this little icon here that tells me it's been hidden from students. Then I can go here and hide from instructor view. If I don't hide it from students first and I hide it from myself, students will still see that column, which can make things a little confusing for both you and the students. So make sure you always hide it from students first and then hide it from yourself. If you need to get back, if you accidentally hide a column that you want to make visible again, you can go back up to Manage, Column Organization. Find the column that you want to make visible, just select it, and then go down here where it says Show/Slide and say Show Selected Columns. And then just click Submit, and that'll bring the column back. If you need to make that column visible to students again, you can just click on the drop down here and say Hide from Students on/off to switch it back to visible. All right. The last thing I'd like to show you guys in this video is how you can enter grades into the Grade Center. There's actually several different ways you can go about this depending on how the assignment was submitted. So for columns for assignments that were submitted outside of Blackboard, the easiest way to do this is just to type in the grade in the Grade Center column for the student, and you just can put it in there like that. For assignments that were submitted in Blackboard, you can find the attempt. So this one needs grading. I can click on the drop down there and just click on the attempt. That will take me to the student's submitted work. And then I just have a column over here where I can enter the grade the student gets. Type in their grade. If you want to leave feedback to the student, you can type in feedback. And then you just click submit. And that will enter the student's grade in the grade center. For quizzes or tests, depending on the question types you have, the quiz may just get graded automatically like this quiz did. If you need to grade it, if it has like an essay question or something like that on it you need to grade, you can click on the drop down and go to the attempt to view the attempt. And then you can see each question and you can enter the score the student got for that question there. And then just at the end you would click submit after you've gone through all the questions. Okay, the last thing I want to show you guys is how you can clear an attempt if a student, for example, uploaded the wrong file and needs to be able to resubmit, or if they need to be able to retake a test because they had a problem the first time they took the test. It's just a useful skill that for you guys to know how to do. So to do this, let's say the student needs to resubmit this assignment. I'm just going to click on the drop down next to their name for more options. I'm going to go to View Grade Details. And then I'm going to find the button over here that says Clear Attempt. That will remove their attempt. And then I can return to the grade center. So then that allows the student to resubmit the assignment. All right, I think that's everything I'm going to show you guys in this video. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions about anything that was covered in here, or if there's something I left out that you'd like to learn more about. All right, thank you guys.